The massive space station called Nexus buzzed with life like a giant metal beehive. Hundreds of different alien creatures moved through its wide corridors, buying and selling strange goods from across the galaxy. The air smelled like a mix of exotic spices and engine oil. Dr. Keisha Williams kept one eye on her scientific equipment and the other on her 8-year-old son Dante, who was practically vibrating with excitement. The boy had never seen so many different aliens in one place. His dark eyes grew wide as he watched a purple blob creature haggle with a robot over glowing crystals. "Don't wander off, sweetie," Keisha called out, checking the readings on her scanner. She and her husband Jerome were both scientists from Earth, here to study and catalog new alien species. It was important work, but also dangerous. Not all aliens were friendly to humans. Dante pressed his nose against the window of a food stall, watching an octopus-like chef flip something that looked like rainbow pancakes. "Mom, can aliens eat ice cream?" he asked, his voice full of wonder. Before Keisha could answer, the entire station began to shake. Not the gentle rumble of engines or the bump of a docking ship. This was different. This felt like reality itself was tearing apart. A crack appeared in the air right in the middle of the main trading floor. It started small, like a line drawn with invisible ink, then grew bigger and bigger. The crack glowed with an eerie light that hurt to look at directly. Emergency lights began flashing red throughout the station. Then something came through. It was huge beyond imagination. The creature that emerged from the crack was easily as tall as a 3-story building. Its body was covered in scales that looked like they were made of living crystal, each one catching and reflecting light in impossible ways. The scales shifted color constantly, flowing from deep blue to silver to gold like liquid starlight. The being had wings, but not like any bird or bat. These wings seemed to bend the very air around them, creating ripples in space that made your eyes water if you stared too long. When it moved, reality seemed to bend and twist, as if the laws of physics were just suggestions to this creature. Most terrifying of all were its eyes. They burned like twin galaxies, ancient and vast, holding the light of a billion stars. When those cosmic eyes looked your way, you felt like you were staring into the depths of the universe itself. The moment the creature fully materialized, chaos erupted throughout the station. An invisible wave of psychic pressure rolled out from the being like a tsunami of pure fear. It pressed against every mind in the area, making breathing difficult and thinking nearly impossible. The snake-like Venturi merchants, who usually moved with elegant grace, suddenly thrashed in panic. They abandoned their valuable goods and slithered toward the emergency exits as fast as their coils could carry them. Their forked tongues flicked frantically as they hissed warnings to each other in their ancient language. The insectoid-clutched security forces, normally brave and disciplined, scattered like startled ants. Their chittering sounds of terror echoed through the corridors as they clicked and clacked away on their multiple legs. These were trained warriors who had faced down space pirates and hostile aliens, yet they fled like children from a nightmare. Station-wide evacuation sirens began wailing, their harsh sound mixing with the screams and shouts of hundreds of fleeing aliens. Species that had been mortal enemies moments before now pushed and shoved together in their desperate rush to reach the escape pods. The four-armed Nexari dropped their precious trade goods, their blue skin turning pale with fear. The gaseous ethereals, usually calm and thoughtful, swirled into frantic cyclones as they rushed toward the airlocks. Even the mechanical beings, who claimed to feel no emotions, moved with jerky, panicked movements. But in the middle of all this chaos and terror, one small human boy stood perfectly still. Dante tilted his head to one side, like he was trying to figure out a puzzle. His face showed no fear, only curiosity and delight. While everyone else saw a terrifying cosmic horror, Dante saw something completely different. A huge grin spread across his face. He began clapping his hands with pure joy, bouncing on his toes with excitement. "Mama, look at the funny space horse," he called out, his young voice cutting through all the screaming and chaos. "He's got sparkly wings just like in my picture books. Can we pet him?" The emergency speakers throughout the station crackled to life with urgent announcements in dozens of different languages. Computer voices warned everyone to stay away from the massive creature while military ships were being called in. But 8-year-old Dante didn't seem to hear any of it. He was too busy staring up at the giant being with pure wonder in his eyes. While hundreds of aliens continued fleeing in terror, Dante took a small step forward. Then another. His sneakers squeaked against the metal floor as he walked directly toward the towering creature that had everyone else running for their lives. "Dante, no," his mother Keisha shouted, but her voice was lost in all the chaos and screaming around them. The massive being noticed the tiny human approaching. Its enormous head, easily the size of a small spaceship, slowly lowered down to get a better look at this strange little creature that wasn't running away. Those galaxy-filled eyes focused on Dante with the weight of eons behind them. Most adults would have collapsed under that cosmic stare. The psychic pressure alone had sent trained soldiers fleeing. But Dante just looked right back, completely unafraid. "Wow, you're really pretty," Dante said in his normal 8-year-old voice, like he was talking to a neighbor's dog. "Are you lost?" "I get lost sometimes too, especially in big places like this. But Mama always finds me, so it's okay." The creature made a sound then, but it wasn't scary at all. It was like music mixed with wind chimes, with notes that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The sound vibrated through the air in ways that human ears weren't designed to hear, but somehow Dante understood it perfectly. In those impossible harmonics, Dante heard something that sounded like Zephyr. He nodded seriously, the way kids do when they're trying to be grown up. "That's a really nice name." "I'm Dante." "It's nice to meet you, Zephyr." He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small package of animal crackers that his mom had given him earlier. "Want some? They're really good. This one looks like an elephant, and this one's supposed to be a lion, but it looks more like a fuzzy blob to me." Dr. Jerome Williams stood frozen about 50 feet away, watching his son have a casual conversation with a being that had just caused the biggest panic in the station's history. His scientific mind was struggling to process what he was seeing. The creature, this Zephyr, seemed just as curious about Dante as the boy was about him. The massive head tilted slightly, and those cosmic eyes blinked slowly, like he was trying to understand this fearless little human. As Dante kept chattering away in his innocent, childlike way, something amazing started to happen. The waves of psychic pressure that had been radiating from the creature began to fade. The air around them stopped feeling heavy and oppressive. The terrifying presence that had sent entire security forces running started to feel less threatening. "Do you have a favorite color?" Dante asked, holding up a cookie shaped like a bear. "Mine's blue, but the really bright kind, not the dark scary kind." "Oh, and I really like dragons." "Are you a dragon?" "You look like the nice dragons in my storybooks, not the mean ones that breathe fire." Jerome watched in complete amazement as his son continued his one-sided conversation, talking about everything from his pet goldfish to his favorite cartoons. And incredibly, the massive being seemed to be listening intently to every word. The creature's crystalline scales had stopped shifting so wildly. Instead of the chaotic light show from before, they now pulsed with gentle, steady colors. The wings that had been making reality bend and twist were now folded peacefully against its sides. "You know what I think?" Dante said, taking a tiny bite of his cookie. "I think you're not scary at all. I think you're just really big and maybe a little confused about where you are. This place is super confusing even for me, and I'm used to confusing places." Dr. Keisha Williams crept closer, her scientific equipment beeping quietly as she recorded everything. She spoke in a whisper into her voice recorder, trying not to disturb the incredible scene unfolding before her. "This is impossible by every rule of xenobiology we know," she whispered. "My son is achieving peaceful first contact through nothing but pure, innocent interaction. The entity is responding to his emotional openness in ways our most advanced diplomatic protocols never anticipated." Dante looked up at the towering creature and smiled his biggest, brightest smile. "Do you want to be friends, Zephyr? I don't have any friends who are space dragons yet. That would be really cool." What happened next was something that would change how the entire galaxy thought about first contact forever. Dante, completely unaware that he was making history, decided to teach his new giant friend some games. "Okay Zephyr, let's play peekaboo," Dante said, covering his eyes with his small hands. "You cover your eyes too, and then we uncover them and say peekaboo. It's really fun, I promise." The massive cosmic being watched with those ancient galaxy eyes as the tiny human demonstrated the simple game. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, one enormous crystalline claw moved up to cover those burning star-filled eyes. Dante counted to 3 and dropped his hands. "Peekaboo," he shouted with delight. Zephyr uncovered his eyes at the exact same moment, and something incredible happened. The creature made that musical sound again, but this time it was different. Lighter. Almost like laughter. "You did it. You're really smart." Dante clapped his hands. "Now let's try rock paper scissors. You make your claw into different shapes, like this." The boy showed Zephyr how to make a fist for rock, a flat hand for paper, and 2 fingers for scissors. It took a few tries, but the cosmic dragon slowly began copying the movements with one massive claw. As they played these simple Earth games, something extraordinary began happening. The creature's entire presence was changing. Those terrifying waves of psychic energy that had sent aliens fleeing in panic were transforming into something warm and gentle. The air around them started to feel comfortable, almost cozy. "You're not scary at all," Dante announced, reaching out to pat one of the creature's enormous crystalline claws. It was smooth and warm, like touching a giant gemstone that had been sitting in sunlight. "You're just really, really big." "That's okay though. My friend Tyler back on Earth is super tall too, way taller than all the other kids, but he's the nicest person I know." From a safe distance, other humans on the station began to notice what was happening. The screaming and chaos had died down as most aliens had either fled or hidden themselves in the deepest parts of the station. But the humans who remained found themselves drawn to this incredible scene. Dr. Maya Chen from the medical bay was the first to approach. She crept forward slowly, her scanning equipment held carefully in her hands. Her readings were showing things that should have been impossible. The creature's energy patterns were shifting from aggressive and chaotic to calm and almost playful. Security Chief Devon Taylor had been pointing his weapon at the massive being ever since it first appeared. But now, watching how it responded to the child's innocent laughter and games, he slowly lowered his gun. His training told him this was still dangerous, but his eyes showed him something different. This wasn't a monster. This was something that was learning to be gentle. "This doesn't make any sense," Dr. Chen whispered into her communicator, watching her instruments. "The entity is copying the boy's emotional patterns. It's like it's learning how to feel joy and friendship from watching him." Other humans began gathering at a respectful distance. Engineers, traders, researchers, and station workers all found themselves fascinated by what they were seeing. A small human child was teaching an ancient cosmic being how to play games and have fun. "Zephyr is kind of a long name," Dante said thoughtfully, still playing rock-paper-scissors with his enormous new friend. "Do you mind if I call you Zippy? It's easier to say, and it sounds friendly." The moment Dante said the nickname, something beautiful happened. The creature's crystalline scales began shimmering brighter, cycling through gentle colors like a slow rainbow. The musical sounds it made grew warmer and more cheerful. It was clear that Zephyr liked his new nickname very much. "Zippy it is then." Dante grinned. "Do you want to try playing tag?" "Oh wait, you're probably too big for that. How about I teach you some songs instead? I know lots of really good ones." The humans watching from nearby looked at each other in amazement. Dr. Chen's scanners were going crazy, showing emotional resonance patterns that shouldn't exist between such different species. "He's not just playing with it," she reported quietly. "The boy is actually teaching this cosmic entity how to experience human emotions. Joy, friendship, playfulness. It's learning from him." Engineer Carlos Martinez had been working on the station for 15 years and had seen first contact situations go terribly wrong. But this was different. This was a human child bridging a gap between species through nothing more than kindness and innocent play. "Look at how it responds when the kid laughs," Carlos whispered to his colleague. "Those scales get brighter, the whole aura around it gets warmer. It's like the creature feeds on positive emotions." Dante continued chattering away, completely oblivious to the crowd of amazed humans gathering around them. He told Zippy about his favorite movies, his pet hamster named Buttons, and how much he loved chocolate chip cookies. With each story, each laugh, each moment of pure childhood joy, the cosmic being seemed to understand humanity a little bit better. For almost an hour, something magical was happening on Nexus Station. Dante and his giant friend Zippy were playing games, sharing snacks, and learning about each other. The humans who had stayed to watch were amazed at how gentle the cosmic being had become. Some aliens had even started peeking out from their hiding spots, curious about this peaceful scene. But then the temperature in the station suddenly dropped 10 degrees. The lights flickered, and a sound like breaking glass echoed through the air. Everyone looked up to see something that made their blood run cold. Space itself was tearing apart above them. Not like the gentle crack that Zippy had come through, but violent rips that sparked with dangerous energy. These tears were angry, aggressive, and they hurt to look at directly. Through these violent openings came beings that looked like living lightning contained in vaguely human shapes. They moved with purpose and power, and their very presence made the station's metal walls groan under pressure. These were the Cosmic Enforcement Fleet, and they had come to fix what they saw as a problem. The leader of these energy beings descended toward the station floor, its form crackling with contained starfire. When it spoke, its voice came through every universal translator on the station at once, cold and emotionless like a computer announcing the weather. "Attention all life forms. Stand away from the dimensional breach entity immediately. This anomaly will be corrected within 60 seconds. Dante looked up from where he was showing Zippy how to play patty cake. He didn't understand all the big words, but he understood the tone. These new beings wanted to hurt his friend. "Stand back, human child," the enforcer commanded, focusing its burning attention on little Dante. "The breach entity you are interacting with is a threat to normal spacetime. It must be eliminated for the safety of this dimension." That's when 8-year-old Dante did something that would be remembered for generations. He stepped directly in front of Zippy, spreading his small arms as wide as they would go, trying to shield his enormous friend with his tiny body. "No!" Dante shouted, his young voice carrying clearly through the station. "Zippy is my friend. He's not hurting anyone. We were just playing games and having fun." The enforcer's energy form pulsed brighter, clearly not expecting resistance from such a small being. "Child, you do not understand the danger. This entity's species exists partially outside normal reality. Their presence destabilizes spacetime. They are too dangerous to be allowed in our dimension." "You're wrong," Dante declared, his voice getting louder and more determined. "Zippy isn't dangerous. He's gentle and kind and he likes playing peekaboo. He's just lonely and scared, just like I get sometimes." Behind the energy being, more enforcers were gathering, their forms crackling with weapons that could tear holes in reality itself. They were preparing to destroy Zippy regardless of what anyone said. But then something beautiful and brave started happening. Dr. Jerome Williams, who had been watching his son with a mixture of pride and terror, took a deep breath and walked over to stand beside Dante. He placed a protective hand on his son's shoulder and stared up at the enforcers. "The boy is right," Jerome said firmly. "This being hasn't threatened anyone. It's been peaceful and friendly." Dr. Keisha Williams joined them next, moving to stand on Dante's other side. "As xenobiologists, we can confirm that this entity shows no aggressive behavior patterns. It's been learning from our son, not threatening him." Dr. Maya Chen was the third human to step forward, her medical scanner still beeping with readings that showed Zippy's calm emotional state. "My equipment shows this being is not emitting any hostile energies. It's actually creating a peaceful field around itself." Security Chief Devon Taylor, a man trained to spot dangers and eliminate them, looked at his weapon and then at the gentle giant that was carefully watching the humans protect him. He holstered his gun and stepped into the growing line. "I've seen real threats," Devon said loudly. "This isn't one of them. This is a being that's learned to play games with a child." One by one, more humans joined the protective line. Engineers, maintenance workers, researchers, traders. Each person who had witnessed Dante's friendship with Zippy stepped forward to defend him. "He's not dangerous," Dante repeated, his voice carrying over all the adult voices. "He's just lonely. Sometimes when I'm lonely, I act scary too, but that doesn't make me a bad kid. Everyone gets scared and lonely sometimes." The cosmic enforcers paused, clearly not prepared for this level of resistance from what they considered primitive beings. Their leader's energy form flickered with what might have been confusion. And then something even more amazing happened. From behind pillars and out of hiding spots, other alien species began to emerge. The snake-like Venturi who had fled in terror earlier slithered back into view. The insectoid-clutched security forces clicked their way forward on multiple legs. The four-armed Nexari traders, the gaseous ethereals, even some of the mechanical beings who claimed they didn't feel emotions, all began moving closer. They had seen what the humans were doing, and it inspired something in them that they didn't know they had: courage. Zippy, watching all these beings stand up to protect him, made that musical sound again. But this time it was different. It was a song of gratitude and wonder, harmonics that spoke of friendship and hope across the vast emptiness of space. The sound seemed to touch something deep in every being present, reminding them that sometimes the most important battles are not fought with weapons, but with the simple decision to stand up for what is right. The standoff between the cosmic enforcers and the protective line of beings continued for several tense minutes. The energy beings crackled with impatience, clearly not used to anyone questioning their authority. But something was different this time. They had never encountered resistance like this before, especially not from what they considered primitive life forms. That's when Dante did something that changed everything. He turned around to face Zippy, who was watching all the commotion with those ancient galaxy eyes. The massive being looked confused and scared, much like a lost child who didn't understand why everyone was arguing. "It's okay, Zippy," Dante said softly, reaching up to pat the creature's enormous claw. "Tell them you're not scary. Show them how gentle you are." And that's when the real truth came out. As Zippy began making his musical sounds, Dr. Keisha Williams' equipment started picking up something incredible. The harmonics weren't just random noise. They were language, complex and beautiful, but spoken in frequencies that most beings couldn't understand. Except somehow, Dante could. His trying to say his sorry, Dante translated, looking up at the enforcers with tears in his young eyes. He says he didn't mean to scare anyone. He was just lost and frightened, and when you're scared, you sometimes look scary even when you don't want to. Dr. Maya Chen's medical scanners were going crazy, showing brain patterns and emotional readings that told an amazing story. The child is right, she announced to everyone present. This being isn't naturally aggressive. All the frightening energy we detected earlier was a fear response. It's like when a scared animal hisses or shows its teeth, but on a cosmic scale. The lead enforcer's energy form flickered, clearly processing this new information. For thousands of years, their kind had encountered zipper species and always seen them as threats to be eliminated. They had never considered that the terrifying presence might be involuntary, a natural defense mechanism triggered by fear and confusion. Dante continued listening to Zipper's musical language, nodding seriously as if he was having a normal conversation with a friend. He says his people live in between different dimensions, kind of like living in the space between rooms in a house. Sometimes they accidentally slip through into our dimension, especially the young ones who haven't learned how to control their abilities yet. The humans and aliens gathered around listened in amazement as an 8-year-old boy became the first successful translator between dimensions. Dante's innocent mind, unclouded by fear or scientific theories, could understand Zippy in ways that advanced computers and trained diplomats never could. Zippy is basically a lost kid, Dante explained to the enforcers. He was exploring near the edge of his dimension when he accidentally fell through into ours. He's been trying to get home, but is too scared and confused to figure out how. And every time people run away screaming, it makes him more afraid. The cosmic enforcers exchanged communications in energy patterns too complex for the universal translators to handle. Finally, their leader descended closer to the group, its burning form less aggressive than before. If this is true, the enforcer said slowly, then we have made a grave error. We have been destroying lost children, not eliminating threats. Over the next few hours, with Dante serving as translator, the most incredible first contact in galactic history took place. Zippy shared stories about his people, an ancient and peaceful species that existed in the spaces between realities. They were explorers and artists, beings who created beauty in dimensions that normal eyes could never see. The terrifying psychic pressure that had sent entire species fleeing was nothing more than cosmic homesickness combined with the fear of being alone in a strange place. When Zippy felt safe and happy, that pressure transformed into something warm and comforting, like a gentle hug that reached across space. The cosmic enforcers, faced with undeniable proof that they had been wrong for millennia, agreed to completely change their approach. Instead of destroying Zipper's kind when they accidentally crossed into normal space, they would help them find their way home safely. But Zippy didn't want to go home just yet. He had found something amazing in this dimension, friendship. He asked if he could stay and learn more about the beings who had shown him kindness, especially the small human who had seen past his frightening appearance to the lonely child underneath. Within days, news of the peaceful first contact spread throughout the galaxy. Nexus Station became the most famous location in known space, and Dante became the youngest being ever appointed to the Galactic Council's Special Advisory Board for Interdimensional Relations. Zippy officially became the first interdimensional ambassador, helping to establish communication protocols between his people and the rest of the galaxy. But to Dante, he was still just his friend who liked playing games and sharing snacks. Years passed, and Dante grew up to become one of the galaxy's most respected xenobiologists, following in his parents' footsteps. He traveled to distant worlds, made contact with dozens of new species, and helped establish peaceful relationships across the stars. But no matter how far he traveled or how many important meetings he attended, he never forgot the day he met a scared dragon on a space station and learned that the most frightening beings sometimes just need a friend who can see past their outside to their heart. And in the end, the most important lesson wasn't written in any scientific journal or diplomatic treaty. It was simple. Sometimes the biggest breakthroughs in understanding come not from advanced technology or complex negotiations, but from a child willing to share cookies with someone who looks different and speak to them with kindness. That lesson changed not just how the galaxy approached first contact, but how beings of all species learn to look past fear and find friendship in the most unexpected places.